With brand new hardware releases on the horizon, now might seem like the worst time ever to buy a new gaming PC. But in fact, you would be wrong. With prices lower than they've ever been, how do you pick apart the good pre-built PCs from the bad? And with GPUs more readily in stock, should you buy a pre-built at all or build one for yourself? In this video, I'm going to be taking a look at the best pre-built deals you can buy right now for North America, the UK and Europe. I'll be splitting apart the good deals from the bad, showing you what exactly to look for in a pre-built PC, and talking about just which ones you should consider. Let's do this. Now, as ever, I'm going to load up the sites right now. It's the 15th of September for anyone wondering date-wise, and take a peek through what deals are currently live on the sites. Some of these deals are naturally going to be a lot better or worse than others, but let's take a peek, shall we? Let's head over to iBUYPOWER first. For my US viewers, this tends to be one of the better options in terms of value for money, and the reviews on the whole, bar one or two exceptions from a couple of people, are actually pretty good. I also like their cases from both an aesthetic and a practicality standpoint. Loads of airflow on this one, for example, and the prices tend to be pretty good. If we take a look at their deals of the day, we can see a wide range of what they call their gaming ready systems. Back in the pandemic, when GPUs were out of stock, these gaming ready ones were ones that were ready to ship next day or within 2 days. All of these now, interestingly too, are coming with Windows 11 Home as standard. That's quite cool. Stability on that's gone a lot better as well. This one here comes in at just under $1,500, has an i5-12600K KF, a 3060 Ti, a 1TB NVMe SSD, and 16 gigs of RAM. If I'm being really honest with you, that's actually not a bad deal. With GPUs now more readily available and in stock, I think you could build a system like that for that price point, or maybe slightly lower. But if you're going to do so, you'll also need to factor in the purchase of Windows 11, and you will need to shop around on some components. Admittedly, iBUYPOWER's case they're using is a fairly cheap OEM design, but you'll also have to go down that route if you want to reach price parity. The good prices carry on through. This deal next to it is a far better deal in my opinion. For just $200 more, you can pick up a 3070 Ti, a Ryzen 7 5700X, a 1TB NVMe, and otherwise identical specs. If I'm being really honest, from my experience of the market right now, you could not build that PC for less money than that. You may be able to just reach price parity, you might be able to do the same system for $1,700, but in my mind, there's no way you're building a comparative system like that for any less. Plus, when new GPUs come out, if the price increase rumors are true, you're not going to be able to buy a pre-built with the equivalent of a 4070 Ti, whatever Nvidia call it, for that price. So in that sense, if you're not too bothered about what the next gen releases might be, or having the latest named graphics card in your PC, that's a deal worth considering. Moving on through, there's another 3060 Ti system. This is what I don't understand about some of these pre-builts. It's another $129 over the other one, and it's basically the same PC. Maybe with a slightly better Gen 4 NVMe, but otherwise it's basically the same PC. A 3060 system for $1,200 or so is also not a bad shout. There's a couple of 3060 options there. One thing to look out for if you're buying a pre-built is the CPU they're using. Here you can see there's a Ryzen 5 3600X with the 7600X confirmed to launch on the 27th of the month. That's a bad deal. That's like an ancient CPU by today's standards. If it was cheaper, maybe worth considering. Otherwise, looking through, whoa, that's a deal. Genuinely, I can't quite believe what I've just seen. This one here, they're catchily named Gaming Ready RSR G201. Doesn't that get you excited? Has got Windows 11, fine. A Ryzen 9 5900X. What? A 3080, the 10 gig, not the 12 gig, but 10 gigs is fine. A 1TB NVMe, 16 gigs of RAM. Oh, iBUYPOWER, that needs 32, that's going to bottleneck on 16 gigs. But for $2,049, that's pretty crackers. I mean, the MSRP from a board partner with a fancy cooler is probably, what, like $750, $800? So to be able to get that, and a Ryzen 9, which is another, what, $300 or $400? That's a pretty good deal. They're basically giving you all the rest for about $800, $900, which is very, very impressive. One thing I would bear in mind, they've got systems like this with DDR5. DDR5 is good, but it's not yet there yet, and they're probably not using the best latency kits either, so I'd avoid some of those DDR5 systems, just as I would avoid building a DDR4 one. Let's take a look at NZXT next up. So NZXT's build lineup is a lineup of PCs that might be slightly more expensive, but I like over in the US because it actually gives you better cases and coolers. One area pre-built PC manufacturers generally try to save some money is by not necessarily scrimping out, but going for not the best case designs in the world. At least with NZXT build, you know that you're going to get a system that's completely built inside of their kit, which is really, really good. If we take a look here, they've got their Starter Plus PC. Now, there is one thing NZXT I am going to rib you for here. They kind of have hidden away the GPU. It's not here, it's not down here. You actually have to scroll over to look here or head down to the specs, which are buried under this tab. I mean, that is really, really not good. You should really be sorting that out, NZXT. But one thing they do give you is they do give you a really, really detailed insight into all the components. You get, for example, the 80 plus rating on the power supply. You get the form factor of the power. They give you information you just don't find in other pre-built systems. This one here is $1,049 with a 3060. I mean, we're currently building $1,000 systems with a 3060 on the channel. Arguably, you can get a slightly better CPU if you build it yourself. But even then, I mean, $1,000 for a ready-to-go 3060 PC is not bad. For $100 less, they've got a 3050 one. The Starter Pro, I wonder what's in that. It's another $100 more, and you're going to get in that one a 3060 Ti. Wow! I mean, bear in mind, in some of our previous pre-built deals videos, NZXT were on the pricey side. They certainly aren't anymore. $1,149 for a 3060 Ti PC. Remember, we're expecting the next-gen GPUs from AMD and NVIDIA to be high-end cards. I sound like a broken record saying this, but if you're expecting that GPU to be replaced before Christmas, I think you might be disappointed. All the rumors point to that, and maybe NVIDIA and AMD will pull a blinder. They'll go, yes, here's our new mid-range GPU. But even then, that's not going to drop in price. In fact, I kind of think some of these 3060 Ti cards that are currently in $1,000 systems may go up slightly when people realise they're not going to get replaced. Now, over in the UK, we'll head back to our US friends in a moment. We're going to take a look at some of the deals over on iBUYPOWER. Now, I think they're like one of the largest tech retailers in the UK, the largest independent, I think, and we've always had good mileage with their AlphaSync systems. We've partnered with AlphaSync here on the channel before, and we found their systems to be good when we tested them in-house. You'll also find some really strong price points. I mean, take a look at, for example, this PC here, £699, equivalent of about $700 when you take into account we have a 20% sales tax on everything here in the UK. It does have a Ryzen 3, so slightly weaker on the CPU, but you do get a 3060. Like a 3060 GPU. I mean, 16 gigs of RAM, half a terabyte SSD, you've got no OS, but as you guys know, you can normally pick up Windows 10 or 11 for a pretty cheap price if you're prepared to shop around, I think is the diplomatic term. Want something a bit more ready to go and out the box though? Ryzen 5 5600X 3060 Ti, £1,079. That's like $1,100 when you account for the fact, as I say, it's got that 20% sales tax. I don't even know, like, you couldn't build that PC. Even picking up a really strong 3060 Ti deal here in the UK for £500, $550 in the States, you're not going to be able to get the rest of those parts for another 500 quid. At least not in my experience. If we keep on scrolling down the list, there's a couple more options here. This one's pretty strong. 3060 Ti, 1TB NVMe drive, $1,049 again. Another one, this one's pretty crazy. AlphaSync Onyx 3060 Ti for £929. Like, I'm at this point considering buying a couple for the office for like editing PCs, because as I say, you cannot build that PC yourself for that price. It devastates me. I love building computers. I don't know how they're doing that, but you literally cannot replicate that PC. You might be able to get like the CPU, GPU, the motherboard and some RAM, but you won't get the storage, the power supply and the case. I can tell you that much. On the slightly higher end of the market, you can keep on scrolling down. There's some good options around here. 3070 PC for about $1,500. You could probably replicate that a bit more easily, but on that more budget end of the spectrum, there's basically no chance of you actually being able to replicate those PCs at those prices. Over in the US again, if we take a look at CyberPower PC next, these are another one that I found to have some really weird pricing structures on some of their systems. There's a $1,400 build here with a 6600 XT. That's a bit weak, really. We found obviously a 3060 Ti build for $1,150 on NZXT build. If we take a look at this one, $1,500 for a 3070. I mean, it's great, but it's not amazing. 3060 Ti for nearly $1,700. I mean, CyberPower. Like, these are not like amazing deals. What's this? No, that's, oh. They've got here, the Gamer Infinity 8000. I mean, it looks like a really gorgeous system. An i7-12700F, strong CPU, and a 3050 for $1,500, or nearly $1,500. Yeah, I mean, not to, end the video on a sad note, but I'm definitely not having much luck over on the CyberPower website. I think to summarise then, iBUYPOWER, always a good shout when it comes to value for money, but NZXT build in the US at the moment at least seems to be the best option. I also like how with NZXT you can actually see all of the benchmarks for all of the PCs, or at least you could do. Where have they gone? Where are they? There's the benchmarks. I also like how how with NZXT you can get frame rate data, it's something that here in the UK AlphaSync do as well, where you get that FPS info for the PCs. Really good to see. I'll link some of my favourites for the UK and the US down below. If you guys have picked up a great PC build recently, let me know how much it cost you, and if you're planning to build one yourself, just how easy has it been to buy those components, and I suppose for some of you, will you be waiting out for the next gen of GPUs, and if so, what particularly are you hoping to be released and eventually pick up for your PC builds? Thanks for tuning in though, make sure to get subscribed if you haven't already, and as always, we'll see you in the next one.